The auction hall on Titan Station 9 was dim and hollow, its curved walls pulsing faintly with the recycled rhythm of artificial gravity. Rows of traders, scavengers, and corporate agents sat beneath a haze of rust-colored light, their faces lit by holographic projections of derelict ships drifting in silent orbit beyond Neptune. Lot 47. The auctioneer droned, voice bored, mechanical. Recovered from the shadow belt. Unregistered origin. Estimated age unknown. Classified as non-responsive. The image that flickered into view silenced the murmuring crowd. A colossal vessel rotated slowly in the air, sleek, bone-white, and scarred by centuries of radiation. Its hull seemed grown rather than built, patterned with vein-like ridges that glimmered faintly as if light still lived within them. A few buyers leaned forward, scanning the specs. No known alloys. No life support systems. No recognizable propulsion tech. Power readings 0. It was a tomb in space. Opening bid, 100 credits, the auctioneer called. Silence. No hands. No murmurs. A scavenger snorted. Might as well sell a ghost. In the far corner, Dr. Elias Kale watched quietly. His face was drawn, his beard untended, his eyes fixed on the ship like a starving man watching a distant fire. The datapad on his lap showed a dwindling credit balance, barely enough to buy a shuttle engine, let alone a cruiser. Yet his pulse quickened. There was something wrong about the ship's stillness. Not dead, dormant. He could feel it, an intuition honed from years of crawling through alien wrecks. It wasn't the silence of death. It was the silence of waiting. Any bidders? The auctioneer sighed. Last call before we scrap it for hull plating. Elias raised his hand. 100. Heads turned. A wave of laughter rolled through the hall. A corp agent whispered, That's Kale, the Europa lunatic. Another chuckled. Guess he hasn't learned his lesson. Elias ignored them. Transfer complete, he told the auctioneer. Congratulations, the man said dryly. You just bought yourself a piece of nothing. Hours later, Elias stood inside Dock Bay 12, watching the ship's massive form through reinforced glass. The station lights washed across its hull, revealing faint movement, like dust stirring under skin. Behind him, a gruff voice muttered, You've officially lost it, Kale. He turned. Jax Haller, broad-shouldered and oil-stained, leaned against the crate. You blew your last credits on a dead hulk nobody could even scan. We're supposed to salvage, not commit suicide. Elias smiled faintly. You said the same thing before Europa? Yeah, Jax said. And half our team never came back. Before Elias could answer, the bay doors hissed open. Two figures entered, Mira Vance and Soren Imani. Mira, sharp-eyed and composed, wore her flight jacket like armor. If this thing fries my systems, I'm billing you, she said. Soren adjusted his thin spectacles, expression bright with curiosity. The surface patterns look linguistic. Organic script. I've never seen symmetry like that. Elias nodded toward the ship. That's why we're here. Mira frowned. You didn't tell us what it is. Because I don't know, he said simply. But whatever it is, someone built it to last. And it's not Terran. It's older, much older. Their shuttle detached from Titan Station and glided through the cold expanse of space. The cruiser grew immense on the viewport, its form alien yet elegant, as though shaped by currents rather than tools. As they approached, the ship's hull shimmered subtly, an afterimage of motion, gone before sensors could confirm it. Still no active power, Mira reported. No EM emissions. Radiation levels low. Soren traced a finger along his hollow display. The markings, they're responding to light. Adjusting angles as if they're watching us. Don't say watching, Jax grumbled. Elias said nothing. His gaze remained fixed, transfixed by the smooth curvature ahead. It didn't feel like he was approaching something foreign. It felt like he was returning to it. When the shuttle's mag locks clamped onto the hull, the landing ramp extended into silence. No atmosphere readings. No motion. Just the oppressive quiet of endless vacuum. All right, Mira said, sealing her helmet. In and out. If the place twitches, we run. Duly noted, Elias said. Inside, the corridors were vast and seamless. No welds, no panels, no visible seams. The walls curved gently, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. Every sound felt muffled, like stepping inside a living lung that had stopped breathing. Architecture's impossible, Jax whispered. It's like the whole ship's grown out of one piece. Soren recorded symbols etched into the surface. They pulsed faintly under his scanner. This language, it's adaptive. Each glyph shifts depending on who looks at it. Meaning? Mira asked. Meaning it's reading us back, he murmured. Elias crouched beside a set of markings that converged into a circular pattern. He brushed away dust, if it was dust, and revealed a node of translucent crystal embedded in the wall. Its interior glowed faintly, like a dying ember. Jax sighed. Please tell me you're not touching that. Elias placed his glove over the node. At once, warmth pulsed beneath his palm. The crystal brightened, veins of light rippling across the corridor like awakening nerves. A low vibration filled the air, not sound, but pressure. Elias, Mira warned, hand on her weapon. Step back. He didn't. He felt the vibration sync with his heartbeat, felt the ship listening. The node flared. A brief hum surged through their helmets. The ship trembled once, then went still. Then, faintly, a whisper brushed across their comms. No source, no direction, just a voice that was not mechanical. Welcome. The lights along the corridor shimmered faintly, and then dimmed again, leaving them in cold silence. Mira exhaled slowly. What the hell was that? Echo, Jax said uneasily. Just residual static. Elias shook his head. No. It wasn't static. Soren's hands trembled slightly over his scanner. It said something. In our language? Exactly, Elias murmured. Which means it's listening, and learning. Mira glared at him. We're leaving. He turned toward the pulsating node. Its light throbbed in rhythm with his pulse, as though mirroring him. He couldn't look away. No, he said softly. We've just begun. Back aboard the shuttle, the crew's unease thickened the air. Jax ran diagnostics. Mira stared at the cruiser through the viewport. It's not natural, she said finally. You felt that vibration? That wasn't a power surge, that was a response. Soren leaned forward, still analyzing data. The glyphs rearranged themselves after contact. The ship's structure is adapting. Elias sat quietly, staring at the glowing shape on the monitor, the node that had pulsed beneath his hand. For years, he'd searched ruins that led nowhere, chased fragments of civilizations long dead. This ship was different. It had acknowledged him. He recalled the voice, calm, neutral, ancient. Welcome. Not a recording. Not a malfunction. A greeting. He turned toward the crew. Tomorrow we go deeper. Myra's expression hardened. Elias, this thing's not a discovery. It's a trap. Maybe, he said. But if it's been waiting this long, it's not waiting to kill. It's waiting to be understood. She looked at him for a long moment. You're going to get us all killed chasing ghosts again. Elias met her eyes. Then let's make sure the ghosts finally talk back. The ship drifted in the void outside, vast and silent, but no longer dead. Somewhere within its sleeping circuits, faint light pulsed like a heartbeat, answering his own. And far beyond Titan Station, sensors on distant satellites flickered, detecting a frequency that hadn't existed before that moment. The ardent dawn had begun to wake. The ardent dawn hung silent against the black expanse, a pale ghost beyond Neptune's rim. Inside, faint blue light traced through its veins like electricity rediscovering its purpose. The crew's voices echoed softly in the cavernous corridors, tension riding beneath every word. Power levels fluctuating, Mira reported. Not consistent. Like it's breathing. Elias Kale studied the readings on his wrist display. It's syncing with our presence. The patterns match human heart rhythms. Jack snorted. So the ship's alive now? Great. Maybe it wants dinner next. Soren glanced up from his hollow scanner, eyes bright despite the unease. You're not far off. The internal architecture is changing. These walls weren't here yesterday. They turned a corner. The corridor ahead had reshaped itself overnight, taller, smoother, its surface rippling faintly under the light. The air hummed. Myra's hand drifted near her sidearm. I don't like this. Elias stepped closer to the wall. The symbols carved into it shimmered, rearranging themselves as he approached. Lines merged, forming new patterns that almost resembled written language. Soren's scanner flared. It's reacting to him. Again. Because it knows me, Elias said quietly. Or it's learning to. Mira frowned. What the hell makes you think that's a good thing? Before he could answer, a tone reverberated through the corridor, low, deep, resonant enough to vibrate their suits. A pulse of light ran down the wall, converging toward a circular chamber ahead. Elias turned. That's the node room. Let's move. The chamber pulsed like a living heart. The crystal node he touched before now floated a few inches above its pedestal, spinning slowly in air. Radiant tendrils of light extended outward, mapping symbols midair, a language forming itself in front of them. Recording everything, Soren whispered, his hands trembling over the console. Jax muttered, recording your own funeral, maybe. A sudden flash blinded them. The air thickened, and a voice emerged, not from speakers, but directly into their minds. Calm. Measured. Ancient. Designation, Ardent Dawn. Status, Dormant. Inquiry received. Identifying contact. The light converged on Elias, scanning him from head to toe. His suit's sensors screamed warnings, but he stood still. Neural signature detected. Species, human. Genetic markers, derivative of founder's seed. Command protocol, reactivated. Myra's breath caught. It's talking. Soren stepped forward cautiously. Can you identify yourself? I am Architect, the voice replied. Custodian of the Inheritance Network. Guardian of the Dawn Arcs. You have awakened me. Jack stared. You mean this ship's got a mind? This vessel carries fragments of an ancient consciousness, the voice said. A purpose unfulfilled. You are the first of your kind to answer. Elias felt the words settle in his chest like a weight. The Founders. You know who they were? They were the seeders of your world and others. They vanished when the network collapsed. This ship was left to wait until their children were ready. Silence pressed against them. Mira whispered. Are you saying humans were made? Architect paused, as if searching for language soft enough to break the truth. Made, guided, cultivated, as all sapient life was. You were not an accident. You are the proof that their purpose endures. Soren's eyes widened. You mean, humanity's not alone? Never was, the voice answered. Elias felt a chill crawl up his spine. If we're your inheritors, why now? Why awaken after all this time? Because you called, Architect replied simply. The signal of your species reached beyond the void. Curiosity is the trigger of inheritance. Mira exhaled shakily. That's poetic. And terrifying. Jax leaned on a support beam. If this thing's telling the truth, we just lit a beacon for every alien that ever existed. Architect's light pulsed softly. They will come. Some will welcome you. Some will not. The weight of those words sank in. Humanity's name, shouted across a galaxy they didn't yet understand. Elias steadied himself. You said Inheritance Network. What is that? A lattice of gates and arcs connecting civilizations seeded by the Founders. A web of potential yet unrealized. This ship is one of many. You are to decide whether the network reawakens, or remains silent. Soren whispered. This isn't just a ship. It's a key. Elias nodded slowly. And we just turned it. Hours later, in the ship's control chamber, they stood before a panoramic view of space. The walls had transformed into transparent surfaces, revealing the cold gleam of Neptune's ring and the distant shimmer of stars. Mira sat at the helm, monitoring readings. The systems are alive. Self-repair's underway. But it's not letting me control anything. It's flying itself. Elias turned to the floating holographic figure now forming beside the node, a shifting humanoid outline, luminous and fluid. Architect's avatar. You're not letting us pilot, Elias said. Why? Because destination is not yours to select, Architect replied. The vessel must move to safe distance before signal synchronization completes. Signal? Soren asked. The awakening transmission, the AI explained. Your activation has already propagated through the void. Others will detect it soon. Jax rubbed his face. Great. We've basically announced, hey universe, we're home. Exactly, Elias said. And that's why we can't hand this over. Mira turned sharply. You're not suggesting we keep it? Yes, Elias said simply. If the Terran Salvage Authority gets this, they'll weaponize it before they understand it. Soren nodded hesitantly. He's right. We can't trust them. Jax growled. And what makes you think we can trust this talking ghost ship? Architect's voice cut through the argument, soft, precise. Trust is irrelevant. The decision is already in motion. Human interference is unnecessary. The cruiser shuddered. Outside, faint arcs of light rippled across its hull. The engines, invisible to human design, ignited in silence. Myra's eyes widened. It's moving. Elias, we're not controlling it. The stars outside blurred slightly, the ship accelerating smoothly. No vibration, no thrust, just effortless movement. Architect, Elias demanded, where are you taking us? To the edge of your system, it replied. Where the first gate sleeps. The first what? Jax asked. The relic of passage. The Founder's doorway. Your species will understand soon. Mira muttered. I really hate the way it says things like that. Elias watched the holographic interface bloom with a map, a spiral of stars, constellations linked by luminous threads. Countless nodes blinked faintly across it like sleeping eyes. Soren's breath caught. Those are ships. Arcs. Hundreds, no, thousands. Dormant, Architect confirmed. Waiting for a signal that life has learned enough to ask the right questions. Elias stared at the map. And we're the ones who asked? Yes, said the voice, almost reverent. Humanity is the first in millennia to remember the promise. A burst of static interrupted them, Myra's comm system flaring with a familiar tone. She froze. Incoming transmission. Terran channel. Jax swore under his breath. That's Voss. A sharp female voice crackled through the speakers. Dr. Kale. Admiral Rhea Voss, Terran Salvage Authority. You are in violation of planetary salvage law. Surrender that vessel immediately. Elias closed his eyes. Of course. Voss's tone sharpened. You don't know what you're handling. That ship is a hazard to every human colony. He looked up at the hovering figure of Architect, its light pulsing calmly, indifferent. No, Elias said into the calm. It's not a hazard. It's history. Stand down, Voss ordered. Or we'll take it by force. Architect's glow brightened. Hostile intent detected. Defensive protocols ready. Elias raised his hand. No weapons. Not unless I say so. Acknowledged, for now. The line went dead. Mira turned to Elias. What now? He stared at the endless void ahead, the faint pulse of the cruiser's heart echoing in his chest. Now, he said quietly, we find out if humanity deserves what it's just inherited. Outside, the ardent dawn accelerated into the dark, its light spreading like a beacon through the cold. Somewhere far beyond the edge of human space, something answered. End of Chapter 2. The ardent dawn glided through the black, silent and sovereign, as if space itself parted to make way for its return. Inside, every surface pulsed with soft light, alive with motion. Elias stood before the panoramic viewport, Neptune a fading blue gem behind them, and ahead, something vast shimmered faintly in the dark. A ring, impossibly large, half buried in shadow. Fragments of light slid across its surface like stars caught in orbit. The gate, Mira whispered. It's real. Soren adjusted his scanner, his voice trembling with awe. 2,000 kilometers in diameter, that's not a station. It's a construct older than our solar system. Architect's voice resonated in their minds, calm and inevitable. The first gate, Lumen Threshold. It links to the nearest node within the inheritance network. You have arrived. Jax exhaled. And what happens when we step through that thing? Do we even come back? That depends, the AI replied. On whether you are ready. Mira crossed her arms. Ready for what? A test? A choice, Architect said. The founders built the gates to awaken those who sought understanding beyond survival. Those who stepped through became part of the continuum. Those who feared remained behind. Elias studied the gate, its faint hum vibrating through the hull. And if we go through, what happens to Earth? Nothing. Yet. Your world sleeps. But others are stirring. That thought hung between them like static. Others. Then the proximity alarm blared. A crimson arc blinked across Myra's display. Contacts, she said sharply. Multiple. Terran Authority cruisers closing fast. Jax leaned forward. Voss followed us. Elias clenched his jaw. Of course she did. The first cruiser appeared, dark and angular against the stars, its hull bristling with rail batteries. The comm cracked open. Dr. Kale. Admiral Voss's voice cut through the static. You're trespassing in restricted space. Power down your engines and prepare for boarding. Elias stared at the signal hologram, her image stern, lit by the cold gleam of her command deck. You shouldn't be here, Admiral. This isn't a salvage operation anymore. Voss's gaze narrowed. You're tampering with alien technology you don't understand. That ship could jeopardize every colony we've built. Stand down. Mira muttered under her breath. She doesn't get it. Elias replied evenly. We do understand, Admiral. It's not a weapon, it's a message. The founders left this for us. Then prove your loyalty. Voss snapped. Return it to Earth. Let our scientists handle it. Architect's light pulsed faintly at Elias's side. They fear what they cannot own. Elias ignored the comment. Voss, if you open fire, you'll destroy something that predates humanity itself. Voss's eyes hardened. I'll destroy whatever threatens our species. The channel cut. Jack slammed his fist against the console. She's arming weapons! The crew braced as the Terran cruisers formed a line, energy signatures spiking. Architect! Elias shouted. Defensive protocols, minimal force. Acknowledged. The ardent dawn moved with impossible grace. A translucent barrier of light expanded from its hull, rippling like a curtain in the void. The first Terran salvo hit, then scattered harmlessly across the field, bursts of flame dissolving into silence. Myra's eyes widened. That shouldn't even be possible. Soren whispered. It's bending the laws of physics. Architect's voice remained calm. Energy redirection. Harmless to your kin. But the Terran ships didn't stop. Another barrage struck. One cruiser veered too close, its engines flickering under the gravitational turbulence. The Dawn's shields pulsed in response, releasing a blinding surge. When the light cleared, the cruiser drifted, dead, unharmed but powerless. Elias turned to the projection. End it, Architect. No more. Complying. The battlefield fell quiet. The silence afterward felt heavier than any explosion. Voss's voice returned, lower now, tinged with anger and fear. You've made your choice, Kale. Elias exhaled. So have you? Minutes later, the Terran ships fell back, engines flickering like wounded animals. The Dawn hovered before the gate, its hull gleaming under the reflected light. Mira broke the silence. They'll be back with more. Elias nodded. Then we finish what we started before they get the chance. Soren hesitated. You really think we're ready to go through that? He turned toward them, his voice steady. We can't unlearn what we know. If humanity's future depends on understanding this, then we have to see what's on the other side. Jax leaned back in his chair. I didn't sign up to become cosmic history boss. Elias smiled faintly. None of us did. But history's knocking anyway. Architect's voice filled the room again. Approach when ready. The gate awaits recognition. Mira took her seat at the helm. Here goes nothing. The cruiser advanced toward the glowing ring. As they neared, arcs of light crawled across the hull, scanning patterns blooming like constellations. The ship vibrated, alive with resonance. Soren's monitors lit up. Energy field intensity rising. Hull temperature steady. We're stable. Architect's tone softened. Identity confirmed. Descendants of the Founders, access granted. The gate ignited. Light burst outward in a silent wave. The void beyond rippled, transforming into a whirling expanse of color and motion, like the fabric of reality unfolding itself. Jax gripped his seat. That's not space. Soren whispered. It's a corridor. Between systems. A shortcut through the void. A bridge, Architect said. Forged by those who refused extinction. Elias stared at the vortex, its shifting depths calling like memory. Take us through. The ship crossed the threshold. For a moment, there was no sense of direction, only light, time stretching and folding like liquid glass. He felt 1,000 whispers flicker across his mind, echoes of voices long gone. Images of other worlds, cities suspended in clouds, oceans of liquid crystal, beings with eyes like burning suns. Then silence. When the light faded, the viewport revealed a new sky. A golden nebula swirled ahead, and beyond it, a massive world floated in calm orbit. Its surface shimmered with intricate geometric patterns, structures the size of continents. Soren gasped. That's not a planet. It's a construct. Architect's form reappeared. Welcome to Oris Prime, the core of the inheritance network. Here, the knowledge of the Founders waits for their heirs. Mira whispered. We actually did it. Elias felt a strange calm settle over him. What happens now? No, the AI said. You choose whether humanity joins the continuum, or repeats its old mistakes. Jax laughed dryly. We can't even agree on dinner back home, and you want us to join a cosmic network? Soren smiled faintly. Maybe that's why they picked us. We're stubborn enough to try. Mira turned to Elias. You think Earth's ready for this? He looked out at the golden expanse. Ready? No. But maybe it's time they learned what they're capable of. Architect's voice lowered, almost human. Every civilization must face the moment when curiosity outweighs fear. This is yours. The descent through Oris Prime's upper atmosphere felt like entering a living monument. Currents of gold and violet mist wrapped around the ardent dawn in slow spirals, drawn toward the ship like strands of sentient vapor. Elias leaned closer to the viewport, watching patterns form and dissolve across the haze, each one shifting too deliberately to be random. Mira steadied the controls. Feels like the planets, examining us. Architect shimmered beside her. Correct. The world mind observes newcomers. Its purpose is to measure intention, not strength. Soren raised an eyebrow. And what if it doesn't like what it sees? Then the world remains silent. Jax snorted. Great. Judged by a giant glowing cloud. No pressure. The haze parted. Structures rose beneath them, vast rings, spirals, and towers shaped with mathematical elegance. Entire cities were carved into the terrain with flawless symmetry. What looked like rivers of liquid light flowed between them, connecting districts like veins carrying information instead of water. Elias whispered, This isn't built. It's grown. Architect glowed brighter. The Founders believed in design guided by natural principles. Oris Prime evolved itself to preserve their legacy. The dawn settled onto a landing platform shaped like a crescent. The surface rippled under the landing struts, adjusting perfectly to the ship's weight. When the ramp lowered, warm air washed over them, fresh, faintly metallic, filled with a low hum that felt like a heartbeat. Elias took the first step onto the platform. Immediately, the surface lit beneath his boots, light radiating outward in a wave. Soren's scanner pinged. Energy signatures everywhere. Organic, but structured. It's like walking on a biocomputer. Mira pointed ahead. We have a visitor. A figure approached across the illuminated bridge. It was tall, made of translucent gold, its form shifting subtly with each step. Light threaded through its body like nerves. A face emerged, serene, not quite human yet expressive. Elias swallowed. Architect, a relative of yours? Architect bowed, a rare sign of deference. This is a warden. A guardian of the continuum. The warden stopped before them. Its voice resonated inside their minds and ears simultaneously. Descendants of Earth. You arrived bearing the mark of the Founders. Welcome. Jax muttered. At least it's friendly. Elias stepped forward. We came seeking knowledge. And clarity. Humanity is divided. Some fear what you represent. The warden's head tilted. Fear is common among species on the verge of expansion. But you came despite it. That alone marks potential. Mira exchanged a look with Soren. We're the test group. The warden turned, gesturing toward a vast archway that led into the city. Walk with me. The truth awaits in the Hall of Memory. They followed along a pathway suspended over a glowing river. The water, or whatever it was, shifted through colors that pulsed in time with their footsteps. Soren adjusted his visor. These readings, we're inside a neural network the size of a world. Correct, the warden said. The planet holds the accumulated knowledge of the Founders. It exists to guide, not to rule. Elias asked. And why us? Why humanity? The warden's eyes glimmered with quiet light. Because your kind shares the Founder's flaw, curiosity that overrides fear. Jax blew out a breath. Funny way to describe a flaw. All great leaps begin as flaws. They entered a circular chamber carved from luminous stone. The walls flowed like liquid glass. In the center lay a sphere of swirling stars, suspended, rotating slowly. Mira stopped short. That's a map. Not a map, the warden corrected. A record. The stars expanded outward, forming clusters and pathways. The sphere split into layers, each showing different histories, technologies, and species. Voices whispered faintly around them, echoes of long-faded civilizations. Elias approached, his heart pounding. This is every world they contacted. And every world that answered, the warden said. Soren frowned. Some of these clusters are dark. Were they destroyed? The warden's glow dimmed. Some fell to their own conflicts. Some to forces beyond their control. The Founders built the network so others would not repeat that fate. Elias clenched his fists. We nearly did. Earth was ready to fire on us rather than understand. That is why Horus Prime must judge your world. Mira stiffened. Judge how? The warden raised a hand. The holographic clusters shifted, converging into a single pulsating star. By what you decide here. Your actions will set the precedent. You stand as Earth's voice, though humanity doesn't yet know you speak for them. Jax muttered. No pressure at all. Elias turned to the warden. You said this world holds the Founders' knowledge. Can we access it? Not freely. Knowledge without restraint destroyed many. To open the archives, you must face the crucible of echoes. Soren blinked. Crucible? A trial, the warden clarified. Not of strength, but intention. It reveals your deepest motives. If those motives align with growth rather than conquest, the archives open. Mira stepped forward. And if we fail? The warden looked at her, expression unchanged yet somehow somber. The gate will close to your species for 1,000 years. Silence tightened around them. Elias exhaled slowly. Then we take the trial. Architect floated beside him. You need not do this alone, Elias. He shook his head. We all go. This isn't about one of us, it's about the future we choose. The warden extended its hand. Light rippled across the floor, forming a doorway made of shimmering threads. Through it, they saw a shifting landscape, mirrors, shadows, fragments of memories floating like broken glass. Enter when ready, the warden said. Inside, the planet will manifest reflections drawn from your minds. Truths you've buried. Fears you've ignored. Jack stared at the doorway. So, we walk into a place that knows our secrets. Mira nodded. And we walk out stronger. Soren took a steadying breath. Or we don't walk out at all. Elias placed his hand on the edge of the portal. The surface rippled like warm water around his fingers. He glanced back at his crew, his friends. We've come too far to turn back now. One by one, they stepped beside him, forming a line. The glow of Horus Prime bathed their faces in soft gold. Architect's form shimmered, voice carrying a quiet certainty. Beyond this trial lies the truth of who you are, and what your species may become. Elias met the AI's gaze. Then let's find out. Together, they stepped into the crucible. The doorway closed behind them. Light folded inward. Shadows stirred. The world mind awakened, ready to show them the truths that would define the fate of humanity.